alt season is here, and I'm being for real this time. No sarcasm, no jokes. We are really here at a point now where a lot of altcoins are reclaiming their 50-week moving averages. So in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what those charts are and how to play this, because this possibly means here that the next 1 to 3 months are the best time to lock into the crypto markets, to make as much money as possible, and then to get out of the markets before it all dumps again in the next bear market. So this is one that you really want to pay attention to. Make time for it right now. Drop everything else that you're doing. Grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. So once again, we are 457 days after the previous halving. The longest that any bull cycle has gone on in the history of Bitcoin is 550 days, as you can see on this chart over here, which gives us to about mid-October. Now, this time could always be different, but let's make the assumption that it is not. And that means we have less than 100 days left for this all to play out in this way, which also means that the most explosive move of altcoins typically tends to come towards the end of the bull cycle, which means if there is less than 100 days left, that is our window, and we are starting to see it happen. We are starting to see altcoins do some crazy pumps. I will run through the charts in this video. Especially Ethereum is leading the way. Once it reclaimed its 50-week moving average, it went from 2,600 to 3,800 in a very short period of time with basically no pullback. So if Ethereum continues, which is what we've been waiting for, if that hits all-time highs at $5,000 and higher, we will probably see a very big pump across altcoins, but it could be very short-lived. And as I'm showing you here with these timings and with these cycles, the last phase here is the phase where things pump the most, historically speaking. The most amount of gains can be made in the shortest period of time. It is the best time to pay attention, but you have to be positioned before it pumps. You have to scale out and take profits as it goes higher and get out, because once the pump is over, and I believe this is probably the final exit pump of the whole cycle. So once this pump is over, just like historically, everything comes all the way back down in the next bear market. Altcoins that go on a crazy run up, almost all of them retrace the entire move. We're talking about 90 to 99% drops in the next bear market. So if you don't want to round trip, if you don't want to buy the top, you need to pay attention here and you need to have a plan. I believe, based on this data, that we have less than 100 days left, somewhere around mid-October, maybe a little bit longer, but let's assume mid-October as the cutoff line for the cycle. If it runs another couple weeks after that, great, we can see closer to the time. But for now, that is my assumption. Now you can also see here CoinGlass has this altcoin index, which is basically sharing that when altcoins start outperforming Bitcoin, you can see it's starting to move. So it's nowhere near a peak of alt season yet, but we are starting to see that movement higher, and that is very promising for altcoins. Then if we look at the Bitcoin monthly historical returns, you can see we're currently sitting in July. We have about 10 days left for the month closes, and that's pretty much on track, plus 10%. The average is 7.81%. So we're very close to the average for July. Now, what you can see, there's two things that stick out from here pattern-wise. Okay, and none of it is a guarantee, but patterns tend to repeat, so that probably increases the chances of what we're going to get. So the first pattern that I see here is that between August and September, there hasn't been a single year since 2013 where we have not had either a red August or a red September. You can see here is red. Like every year, either August or September has been red, which means that we can expect either in August or September a pullback that might cause the month to be red, which also allows you to be more cautious, especially as things start to pump more. There will probably be a nasty correction either in August or September. But the second thing that we need to look at here as a pattern is that the year before the bear market, so all bear markets here were 2014, 2018, 2022. So every 4 years, if that repeats, which I'm thinking is likely, then 2026, next year, is going to be a bear market. But what you can see here is that every year before that bear market, August is green. So 2013 was the year before the bear market, 30%. 2017 was the year before the bear market. In August, 65%. 2021 was the year before the bear market, 13%. So since 2013, every year before the bear market, we have had a green August. So that is very, very interesting to see, actually a green July and a green August. So July is looking green, we have 10 days left. But if this pattern repeats, then we're looking at a green August and potentially just a lot of upside in the next few weeks. And the charts, as I'm about to share them with you in this video, actually look like they support this data for a continued run for several weeks ahead of us of massive, massive upside and massive pumps. And that is why it's important to pay attention, because the data suggests this. And one thing that's always the case with crypto is it moves so very, very quick. So these pumps, they seem like they come out of nowhere. Absolutely pumps. Everyone is caught off guard. Everyone is sidelined. And then only as it gets towards the very top or near the top of the pump, mass retail starts getting interested. And they start buying when everything is up 3, 4, 5x, 10x. And then you're buying the top and you get wrecked in the bear or in the correction that comes in September. Now, also, obviously, the third thing that is important from the historic returns is that both October and November are historically the most bullish months. We saw the 2021 cycle peak out in November of 2021, beginning of November. So that is probably the target. Probably somewhere in October or November. The cycle length dictates mid-October, but it could be end of October, it could be early November. That is probably going to, once again, be the cycle top. It seems like it's playing out in that same way. So the next 3 months or so are the time to really, really pay attention to crypto, because if you blink, you'll miss it. And you need to have an exit strategy, because once the pump is done, just like we've seen every previous cycle in the bear market, basically retraces all of the altcoin pumps. So I'm actually not going to focus on Bitcoin at all in this specific video, because we're focusing on Altseason. So we start with Ethereum and then we're going to look at different altcoins. The reason why I'm starting with Ethereum is because it has typically been the leader of Altseason, and it seems that once again that is playing out in that same way. Tomorrow I'll make another video on Bitcoin specifically, but basically what we want Bitcoin to do is just chill. We don't want Bitcoin to massively dump. We don't need it to pump either. As long as it's just kind of ranging and chopping around, that is perfect for altcoins to go on a big run. So what I want to point out here is that Ethereum has already hit $3,800. And the key here, the most important thing of this, the reason why I'm showing you Ethereum here on the weekly, is we have this 50-week moving average. And as soon as we reclaimed it, like we were bearish all the way below it, as soon as we reclaimed it, we went from a run. The reclaim was about $2,700. It went from $2,700 to $3,800 in like 2 weeks without a pullback. And it's very much looking like it's probably just going to continue without major pullbacks here, targeting these equal highs and maybe even all-time highs. And this is what I said. I made a video not too long ago saying ETH was going to $5,000 by the end of the year, based on what is happening here in the chart. And it's very much looking like that is the case. We have a liquidity grab, so maybe we go to just over 4,000, pull back a bit, and then shoot higher. But this is what Ethereum is suggesting. And you can see, I showed this also last time, Ethereum can have major, major moves to the upside very, very quickly. It's done this before. Last cycle, you can see it might be following this exact fractal where it takes a run here to like 4,400, dumps to like 3,400, and then runs up to like 5,500. Who knows if this fractal. But you can see the price has done this before. And given that we are in this last like 90-day window or so where the price has that time to pump, we are seeing that play out in real time. Now, what's important specifically about this chart, besides the fact that Ethereum might go to $5,000 or $6,000 or however high it goes, which is nice, obviously, for everyone holding Ethereum. But at this point, from 3,800, it's not even that much percentage-wise anymore. I mean, 2x would be nuts. It's almost $7,000 at this point, more than 7 actually. But what I want to show you here is that when the altcoins reclaim their 50-week moving average, it is a bullish signal until invalidated with a new weekly close back below it. And the strategy is long until wrong. Sometimes you might get pullback. So basically, we could look for longs on any dips back. But because it's been so suppressed for so long and bleeding out for so long, if this is finally alt season, it's also not a surprise that it just continues to rip higher. And most people do not get a chance to re-enter where they'd like to enter, right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you other altcoins who who are basically just in the process of reclaiming their 50-week moving averages or haven't reclaimed it yet, because just like Ethereum has done here, that becomes the likely strategy. So when you see an altcoin reclaim the 50-week moving average, then this strategy, as you can see here as an example on Ethereum, could play out, which means long until wrong, the invalidation is a new weekly close back below it. And after that, we're targeting previous highs, liquidity levels, cycle highs, previous cycle highs, all-time highs. You can see here with ETH, it's 4,000, and then it's basically 4,900 all-time high. So if we look at, for example, Solana has just reclaimed the 50-week moving average here with a weekly close back above it. So basically that theory suggests, or the strategy suggests, we are now long on Solana until we get a new weekly close back below the 50-week moving average, which is about $170. So any dips towards 170 give a better entry, and the invalidation is a weekly close back below. And what are we targeting? Well, on the weekly, you can look for certain levels. So we have a fair value gap here, a little one on weekly, which is about $220. That's likely the first target. And then after that, it becomes this previous high, the cycle high, all-time high, 295. We could very well see that. And maybe it just makes a third thrust. If you're drawing it like this, maybe we're targeting somewhere, some sort of fib extension or something like that at 340. But you have different levels like this, and basically the strategy is long till wrong. But again, with Solana here, even these previous all-time highs from the cycle, it's not even a 2x at this point. So that's why you want to work your way through all of the other altcoins so that you can find charts with better RR potential, risk reward potential, with higher potential upside. So for example, if we're looking at Shiba Inu, it has not yet reclaimed its 50-week moving average, but it is very, very close. It could reclaim it in this week. And what we see here also with SHIB, for example, is that we might here have a range setup. We kind of swept the lows here, and even though we're up a little bit, as soon as it reclaims this, you can see what happens here. These moves can be very explosive to the upside, but they tend to last only a couple of weeks, and then it comes all the way back down. So the initial target would be the middle of the range, then probably these highs, and then these cycle highs. So that is still quite a move to the upside, especially even if you were to take this as a leveraged long. With relatively low leverage, it's still a 1 to 4, 1 to 4.5 risk reward if it just goes back up there. So that's an interesting risk reward setup. If we look at Dogecoin, Dogecoin has now reclaimed the 50-week moving average, as you can see, actually with a big move higher. So any pullbacks towards this 50-week moving average, which is about 0.22 at most, we're at 0.27 right now. So any pullbacks is in theory for buying. And then we are targeting these previous highs, cycle highs at 0.48. And then we're targeting the all-time highs at 0.73. And then, of course, the magical $1 mark, the meme that, who knows, if things go absolutely nuts, a 4x from this point in a short period of time isn't too crazy, because in the previous cycle, Doge did a 10x in a matter of 5 weeks. So in terms of what it's done before and in terms of where we are in the cycle, this stuff becomes more and more possible, especially since it's now reclaimed the 50-week moving average. And now you can go and do this yourself. You can put the 50 simple moving average on all of these altcoins and look for ones that have good setups. Like ALGO, for example, has now reclaimed the 50-week moving average. Look what it did last time it reclaimed it. It went from 17 cents all the way to 60 cents. That was a 3x in a period of basically 2 to 3 weeks after it did that. It looks to me very much like these charts are setting up in that same way, and maybe this time, because we are much later in the cycle and because Bitcoin has set new all-time highs compared to where we were towards the end of 2024, maybe this time we go even higher than last time, which means there's a 2, 3, 4x, 5x potential on a lot of these coins in the next 90 days. And hopefully we're going to see that all pump and play out. You can see the same thing. You can run through all these charts yourself. PEPE has reclaimed the 50-week moving average. The target here becomes the all-time high here. And that's just nice, right? We have a lot of these different coins. You look at POPCAT. POPCAT hasn't reclaimed. It's relatively new. It's this cycle. So you can see it hasn't reclaimed it yet. When it reclaims it, we start targeting potentially these all-time highs. If you look at SEI, for example, it's also a relatively new coin from this cycle. It has just reclaimed its 50-week moving average, which means these tops 0.72 become a target, and this target 1.2. So we're looking at a multiple here. If it goes back to this high, you can see for yourself, right? That's almost a 4x on SEI, and you can go and run through all these coins yourself. Even something like WIF, it's below its 50-week moving average. Once it reclaims that, we can start looking. There's equal highs here, and equal highs tend to get taken out. So that's 4.9, and if it goes beyond that, obviously. So again, we're looking at about a 4x here on a lot of these coins based on what could potentially happen here. Now, of course, the invalidation, which is always a risk. You never know what someone's going to say or tweet. You don't know if there's going to be a black swan or anything like that. So there's always some percentage chance that this is a fake out and it reverses. But until that happens, the charts and the strategies all suggesting we have upside ahead of us. The cycle timing window suggests that. So until we get new weekly closes below the 50-week moving average, the charts are suggesting more upside and potentially a massive alt season and a blow off top in the crypto markets. Again, keep in mind, this is probably the final pump of the cycle. And once it is done, I don't know how high it goes. I don't know when it tops, whether that's next week or in 3 months from now. But when it's done, it's probably going to come all the way back down again, which means you need to buy low and scale out. Remove initial, take profit as it goes higher so that you don't round trip. Because if you just buy and hold, in a year from now, it's probably going to be at the same level or lower than where it is right now, and you're not going to make any profit. So with altcoins specifically, don't get married to your bags. Have a plan, have an exit strategy, buy low, sell high, realize the profits, and that way you will be much, much better off. You'll have more risk capital for the next cycle to buy the next bear market lows, to load up in Bitcoin towards, if cycles repeat, end of 2026 or early 2027 for the next bear market lows, and then ride that up and then compound the capital that you created. But you have to sell if you want to realize profits. Otherwise, you are very likely, almost certainly, going to round trip once again. Come and join me inside my VIP. Every single day, I'm sharing updates on the markets, charts, my own trade ideas for leverage, for spot. And we have a community of more than 3,000 members from around the world. We're all trading, we're all investing in crypto. Come and join us. There's a 60-day money-back guarantee. There's no risk. Come and join us. Get my guidance for the rest of the cycle. The link is in the description down below. I close doors in a week from now, July 28th. So you have to be in before then. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to join for the rest of the cycle. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.